My husband walked into my house holding his mistress by the hand and told me I should pack my things because this home needs a real woman now. When he said that, my hands were still inside the sink, warm water running between my fingers. I was washing a plate I don't even remember using. Maybe because my body was there, but my mind had stayed somewhere before that sentence sliced the air like a blade. The door slammed. Her perfume arrived before her body did, and her confidence came fully intact. I remember turning slowly, afraid to face the scene and discover it wasn't just a nightmare. But it wasn't. Cedric, my husband, the man I helped build everything with, was standing at the living room door with his fingers laced through saffrons. They walked in like people entering a rental they were ready to reclaim, rushed, entitled, with that arrogance of someone who believes nothing and no one will stand in their way. The sound of her heels on the floor was worse than any scream. Click, click, click. Each step whispered, "You lost. I won. Get out." And Cedric looked at me like I was a framed picture he was ready to take off the wall and store in a basement. "Maya," he said, adjusting his collar as if being polite, "from today on, we need to reorganize things around here. You should start getting ready to take some time away." Take some time? Take time away from my own home? The word time hit the floor with a weight you could feel. Dense, cruel, cold. I didn't answer. Not because I had nothing to say, but because my throat simply shut. The air got stuck. Saffron walked past me slowly, dragging her fingers across the table like she was testing textures before deciding whether to throw something out or remodel it. She looked around the living room with a tiny, satisfied smile. "I imagined it would be bigger," she said, "but nothing a good renovation can't fix, right, babe?" Babe. In my living room, in front of me, inside my life. My heart pounded so hard I felt the pulse in my ears. A strange heat rose through my chest, like my soul was trying to escape so it wouldn't have to witness what my eyes were seeing. Cedric pretended everything was normal. He opened the cabinet as if looking for something, but later I realized it was pure theater. He wanted me to see because inside was her suitcase. A suitcase, not a purse, not a bag, a suitcase, large, red, open. He brought his mistress to live in my house. It wasn't suspicion anymore. It wasn't a veiled threat. It wasn't a provocation. It was fact. My knees nearly buckled. The sink behind me felt far away. The world sounded underwater. "Saffron will be staying here for a few days until her place is renovated," Cedric continued, like he was talking about the new nanny. "You understand, right, Maya? Things change. People have to move on." I don't know what hurt more, the sentence or the ease with which he said it. No hesitation, no shame, no guilt. His lie had already become truth inside his mind. And me? What had I become? An obstacle? An item out of place? The water was still running in the sink, louder than my breathing. I turned it off slowly, as if I could stop the world from slipping through my fingers. "Cedric." My voice came out thin, almost childish. "Maya, don't make this complicated," he cut in. "You've always been too emotional. That's why we're here. You and I were just very different." He placed his hand on Saffron's back, guiding her through the house like someone presenting a home to a new owner. "Let's take a look around, babe. I want to show you the room that'll be ours until everything settles." Ours? He said ours. I felt a sharp twist in my stomach, a pain that wasn't physical. Saffron turned her head toward me. She gave a polite smile. Fake, but triumphant. "Don't be upset, Maya. Some things just evolve." Evolve? I stood frozen. And for the first time in my adult life, I understood what it meant to truly lose the ground beneath you. It felt like walking into your own life and finding someone else living it. But right at that moment, that exact suffocating moment, something shifted inside me. Not strength, not yet, but awareness. I realized that if I opened my mouth, if I screamed, if I begged, if I threw something, they would win. And it hit me. I would not be taken out of that house as a victim. If I ever walked out, it would be on my terms, in my time, not theirs. That thought was what kept me standing. And that's the moment my story truly begins. When I think about the months before that day, I see now that I'd already been living in a house that wasn't mine anymore. I just hadn't understood it yet. It's strange how we get used to tiny daily pains, blaming stress, tiredness, or a rough patch. But now I know, micro injustices are rehearsals for the big humiliation. And looking back, everything started long before Saffron ever stepped into my living room. Waking up early was always my survival ritual. Soft sunlight through the kitchen window, the smell of coffee in the air, and a few quiet minutes before the world woke up. I made Eli's breakfast carefully: buttered toast, a piece of fruit sliced just right, hot chocolate in the blue mug he loved. It was my way of saying, "I've got you," without having to say it out loud. Cedric, on the other hand, came downstairs like he was staying at an Airbnb. He didn't say good morning, didn't ask how I slept, didn't ask about Eli. He'd sit, stare at his phone, take a few bites of whatever was already on the table, and complain if anything was off. "Maya, you put way too much butter. I said light, not smothered." "Maya, why isn't my gym gear dry? Did you forget the dryer again?" "Maya, you left the tank empty again?" It was always, "You didn't, you forgot, you should have." Never "thank you," never "I'll do it." The cruelest part was how normal it all seemed. He didn't yell, didn't slam doors, didn't curse, but every sentence was like an invisible shove. And I kept stepping back, an inch at a time. When the coldness becomes routine, we start begging for crumbs. I remember nights when I'd cook dinner, set the table nicely, try to make things feel warm, and he'd show up late, smelling like a different perfume, saying, "I ate out with the team. You should have told me you were cooking all this." I'd just smile, clear the plates, pack the food away, and pretend I hadn't noticed the scent on his shirt. Women my age will understand exactly what I mean. We know when a man stops coming home, even when he still physically comes home. He'd walk in, empty, distant, washed clean of me. His eyes didn't land on me anymore. They slipped past me, like I was part of the wall. And the worst part? I blamed myself. I thought it was my looks, my weight, my tiredness, my quietness, my lack of spark. One night, trying to light something back up, I did my hair, put on a nice dress, sprayed perfume. He looked me over, gave a half smile, and asked, "Where are you going?" It hurt because he sounded genuinely confused, like it didn't even cross his mind that I might want to look nice for him. Or worse, that he knew and just didn't care. The mother-in-law, the presence that shrank the whole house. Geraldine always had the special talent: walk into any room and drop the temperature by 2 degrees. She showed up unannounced, with that inspection look, scanning everything like she was checking if the cleaning crew had done their job. Smells musty in here. Are you actually keeping this place clean? Cedric looks exhausted. Maybe you're demanding too much from him. This child needs more discipline, Maya. You're too soft. She never said, "You're a bad wife" or "You're a bad mother." She didn't need to. She said everything that hurts without using those words. And subtly, always subtly, she planted the same message. Whatever is wrong with my son is your fault. I'd catch them whispering when I turned my back to get water, and I saw how his face changed after talking to her, like my home was their territory. And I was the guest. The first emotional invasions, the shadow of another woman. Before Saffron ever physically entered my life, she had already seeped in through the cracks. One night, Cedric came home late, and while putting his wallet away, I forgot to close his bag. A lipstick rolled out, red, new, sweet scent. He laughed when I asked. "It's my coworker's. Her bag fell and I picked it up. You're so paranoid, Maya." I wanted to believe him. I forced myself to believe him. Because sometimes loving someone means clinging to the lie so you don't have to meet the truth. But that was the first mark. Then came others. Deleted messages, odd schedules, an unfamiliar perfume in the car, restaurant charges with no name, meetings that lasted until midnight, laughter on the phone followed by silence when I walked in. It wasn't proof. It was a feeling. That tightness in the chest that whispers, someone is crossing a line. Our son, the only one still seeing the pain in my face. Eli was little, but he saw more than any adult. One night, he sat at the edge of my bed and asked, "Mom, why do you get sad when Daddy comes home late?" I swallowed hard. "I just get tired, that's all." He tilted his head. "But you get sad before you talk. I see it in your eyes." His words shattered me, because he saw something I was doing everything to hide. Children don't need explanations. They read energy. And the energy in our house wasn't home anymore. It was a cold war. Before Saffron walked in as a person, she came in as a shadow. Cedric changed. Late-night workouts, sudden obsession with his looks, texting and smiling at his screen, going straight to the shower when he got home, tilting the phone away whenever a notification popped up. One day, Eli said, "Daddy was talking to a lady with a pretty voice. She sings when she talks. Is she his friend?" My world shrank, but I smiled and answered, "Probably just someone from work, honey." Inside, though, something opened and never closed again. The night I realized I wasn't the owner of my own home anymore, I was mopping the hallway when I found a shiny bracelet behind the couch. Thin, feminine, smelling like sweet perfume. It was hers. I didn't know her name yet, but I knew there was a her. I held that bracelet for a long time. It was a silent witness, a small, solid truth. And for the first time, I felt shame. Not shame for what I'd done, but for what I'd allowed to happen to me, for how much I had shrunk so he would fit. I slipped the bracelet into my pocket and kept cleaning like nothing had happened. Women learn to keep going, even when something inside them tears. The detail that opened the first real suspicion. It happened one afternoon when Cedric said he needed to handle something at the bank. He rushed out, left a spare key on the table. I went to put it away and realized it wasn't his. It was a copy of our house key, new, unused, and attached to it, a keychain with the letter S. My heart stopped for a second. I didn't know her name yet, but I knew what it meant. Someone else had a key to my home. Someone who wasn't me. Someone who wasn't our son. I stood there, holding that cold key, feeling the weight of something I didn't fully understand, but that had clearly been happening for a long time. I took a deep breath, leaned on the table, and thought, if she has a key, I've already lost more than I ever imagined. But I still didn't know that this key would be the thing that changed my fate. After the key with the letter S, I could never go back to being the same. Before, I kept asking myself if I was imagining things. After that key, I started asking a different question. What are they doing inside my house when I'm not here? And that difference changes everything. In the first question, I was the problem. In the second, I started investigating the problem. That's how I stopped being just the victim and slowly became a witness to my own story. The cold key and the hot sting of shame. That afternoon, I stood there for a long time holding the key. Tiny, metallic, innocent looking, but weighing as if it were carved from stone. The keychain with the letter S tapped lightly against my fingers. A dry little sound that felt like mockery. S. S for what? S for someone else? S for shadow? S for second option? I hid the key in the drawer under the dish towels. I could have confronted Cedric right then, but something inside me screamed, "You can't go into battle without evidence." And I listened. That night, I showered with the water hitting my back like it could wash away the lie sitting on my skin. But no matter how much I scrubbed, the feeling stayed. I lay next to him in bed. He rolled to the other side, scrolling, laughing under his breath, typing fast. The glow of the screen lit his face. All I could see was the shadow. That was the moment I realized. Our marriage wasn't us against the world. It was him and his hidden world against anything that resembled who I used to be to him. A few days later, Ruth, my neighbor, called me to her gate. She's one of those women with eyes that see more than they say. Her smile is gentle, but that day, she didn't smile. "Maya, do you have a minute?" "Of course, Ruth." She looked around as if preparing to commit a crime. "I don't know if I should tell you this, but I haven't been able to sleep right. My chest tightened. Tell me what." She swallowed. "I saw something a few times, and I thought it was none of my business. But now, after I saw that woman walking in with Cedric the other day, the world froze around me." "Ruth, what did you see?" She took a trembling breath. "Maya, some afternoons, weeks ago, I saw Cedric bringing a woman here. It wasn't you." He opened the gate, came in laughing with her, and I thought maybe you two had some arrangement or something. But then I realized it always happened when your car wasn't in the driveway. The world shrank. "They came inside?" I asked, my voice cracking. She nodded. "They did. A few times. I saw them in the living room once. She even opened the curtain and looked out at the yard. I didn't want to meddle, I swear. I thought maybe you knew." I didn't. Not even close. My mind flashed through all the strange details. The pillow out of place, the unfamiliar scent on the towel, the crooked rug, Eli's bedroom door slightly open when I knew I'd closed it. It wasn't my memory failing. It was someone else's presence. Ruth wasn't done. Once, you came home earlier than usual. Eli was with you. She was inside. She slipped out the back door when she heard the front open. Later, I overheard Cedric telling her, "Relax, she never notices anything." I felt like sitting on the curb and crying until my lungs gave out. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked softly, not accusing, just hurt. She lowered her eyes. "Because we're taught not to interfere in other people's marriages. And also because I think I was afraid of being the one who shattered your illusion." Illusion. That's what my marriage had become. I thanked her, hugged her, walked back inside on shaking legs. Now I had the key, the bracelet, the lipstick, the perfume, the neighbor. This wasn't intuition anymore. This was confirmation. And then came the bank statement. One day, Cedric rushed out saying he had bank issues to resolve. He always used the bank as an alibi. But that afternoon, he left something on the table, a detailed bank statement. I'm not great with numbers, but I know how to recognize a pattern. Withdrawals, same neighborhood, same time frame, several times a week. Not near his job, not near our home, not near anything in his routine. My heart raced. In the corner of the page, scribbled with a pen, "Meet S at cafe." There it was again. S. It was her. Always her. I put the paper back exactly where it was, but not before taking a photo. The relationship wasn't just happening in bodies, but in time, money, effort, and now in the structure of our home. Then Eli brought me the missing piece. He had a school project, record short audio clips describing my favorite place in the house. He used my phone. I let him. Later that evening, he returned it proudly. "I recorded it, Mommy. Can you send it to my teacher?" I sat down on the couch to listen to the files before sending. He talked so sweetly. "This is my room. I like my cars. This is the kitchen. Mommy makes pancakes." I smiled, tearing up a little. But in one of the recordings, in the background, there was something else. Cedric's voice, not recorded for me, caught by accident. My heart thundered. I turned the volume up. It was him, talking quietly, fast. And then, a woman's laugh, Saffron. He said, "She'll never realize. Maya lives lost in her own head." Saffron laughed. "As long as you handle everything with the lawyer, she won't get anything. You promised me this house would be ours." I paused the audio. The room spun. Lawyer, house, her. She won't get anything. This wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't just an affair. It was a plan. The moment fear turned into clarity. I could have deleted the audio, pretended I hadn't heard it, put everything back in the drawer, the key, the bracelet, the statement, and kept pretending. But something inside me shifted. I realized staying blind wasn't protecting me. It was helping them. And then came something else. Anger. Not the loud, explosive anger. The quiet one. The organized one. The precise one. The kind that says, "You really think I'm stupid? You really think I don't see? You really think I'm going to walk out confused and defenseless?" That's when the question changed completely. It wasn't, "Why is he doing this to me?" It became, "What can I do with everything he's doing?" I grabbed an old notebook and started writing. Date, time, action, object, phrase, reaction. I documented. Key with S, found on this date. Bracelet behind the couch, on this date. Ruth saw them entering, on this date. Eli's recording mentions lawyer, house, she gets nothing. Bank statement, repeated withdrawals. This wasn't paranoia. It was evidence. I was building a puzzle, and the final picture was something I couldn't see yet, but I knew was coming. And with every note I wrote, one truth grew stronger. He's not just cheating. He's preparing to discard me. And discarding a woman, for men like him, starts by discarding the ground beneath her, the house, the home, the story. The folder, and the moment right before the turning point. One afternoon, Cedric came home early. He looked tense. He dropped his briefcase on the living room table and went to shower. The briefcase wasn't fully closed. A page was sticking out. I took a breath. Even my ears heard my heartbeat. I approached slowly, bent down. On the edge of the page, I read, "Patrimonial Reorganization Plan." My stomach turned to ice. Patrimony, assets, house, division. In that half-inch of paper, I understood everything. The proof I'd been missing was inside that briefcase. I froze, listened for the water running upstairs. I knew this was the line. If I opened that briefcase, I'd cross from maybe to absolutely. And once you step into absolutely, there's no going back. My hand hovered over the flap, and I thought, if I open this, I'll never be the same. But if I don't, I'll stay exactly who he expects me to be. My fingers trembled. I lifted the flap, and in that second, I had to decide what kind of woman I would be from that moment on. The one who keeps pretending she doesn't know? I stood there for a few seconds, staring at that briefcase like someone staring at the gate of a place they know they'll never return from the same. The sound of the shower upstairs was steady, almost aggressive. Each drop hitting the tile felt like a countdown. Open it or walk away. On one side, the safe ignorance. I could keep pretending. On the other, the sharp truth. I could confirm everything my heart had been screaming. My hands were sweaty, but I opened the briefcase anyway. I lifted the cover carefully, as if I were opening someone's chest during surgery. The first document was nothing, a utility bill. The second, a bank statement I'd already seen. But the third was placed there to break me. At the top of the page was the letterhead of a law firm. Right below, in cold, firm letters, Strategic Asset Reorganization Plan, Hollingsworth case. My last name. There. As if I were some legal inconvenience. I started reading. Objective. Protect Mr. Cedric Hollingsworth's assets in a likely marital dissolution, minimizing obligations regarding property division, especially concerning the primary residence. My chest tightened. My breath disappeared. Likely marital dissolution. He was planning to get rid of me, while I was still making dinner like we were just going through a rough patch. I kept reading. Recommendation. Create a prolonged emotional wear scenario to encourage voluntary departure of Mrs. Maya Hollingsworth from the residence. Emotional wear scenario. It wasn't negligence. It wasn't a bad phase. It wasn't poor communication. It was a strategy. The coldness, the criticism, the silent contempt, the humiliations disguised as comments, all of it had a name. Tactic. My fingers went numb. Tears blurred the page. Then came the next blow. If Mrs. Maya does not leave voluntarily, consider documenting episodes of instability, hostility, or aggressive behavior to justify a temporary removal order. I froze. Hostility. Suddenly, everything made sense. He didn't want answers. He didn't want clarity. He didn't want peace. He wanted my outburst, my scream, my breaking point. He wanted to paint me as unbalanced, to take Eli, to keep the house, to claim I wasn't fit. Every time I stayed silent, I had unknowingly ruined his plan. And realizing that gave me a strange feeling of strength. I kept reading, even though the words danced on the page. After Mrs. Maya's departure, and once Mr. Hollingsworth establishes residence with Miss Saffron Pierce, consider claiming abandonment of property to restrict Mrs. Maya's rights. I had to hold on to the table. Abandonment? He wanted to force me out, then claim I had abandoned the home I built, the home I decorated, the home where I stayed up with Eli through fevers and nightmares. I felt sick. Then, the final stab. Once the new family structure is settled, initiate sale of the residence, ensuring Mr. Hollingsworth receives the highest percentage possible, supported by the abandonment claim. I wasn't a wife. I was a line item, a risk, a problem to erase. I closed my eyes hard. Shame burned through my chest. Shame that I had loved someone capable of drafting a plan like this. Shame that I had defended him. Shame that I had doubted myself more than him. And for a moment, the thought hit me. What is so wrong with me that someone would want to get rid of me like this? That hurt. But right after the question came another, stronger. What is so wrong with him that he thinks he can do this to me? That question was the beginning of my rise. I folded the paper with shaking hands, walked down the hallway like a ghost, stopped at Eli's bedroom door and saw him playing with his toy cars. So innocent, so peaceful. I had just discovered that his father was planning to erase me and rewrite the story. I watched my son, and something inside me hardened. Not coldness, not anger, resolve. I would not let Eli grow up living his father's fabricated narrative. I would not let Cedric control the story. The shower turned off. Cedric stepped out moments later, towel around his shoulders. He saw me on the couch. He paused. For 1 second, just one, he saw something different in my face. And he looked away. "You look weird," he said. "Something happened?" I stared straight into his eyes for a long moment, and he looked away again. "No," I said softly. "Nothing new." He laughed nervously. "You've been so emotional lately. We need to talk soon, like adults. It'll be better for you." Better for me? I almost laughed out loud, but I didn't, because I knew now he needed my explosion. I would give him nothing. He walked to the briefcase, still damp from the shower. Checked it. Our eyes met. His flickered with something like fear. Did she see it? I kept my face neutral. That was when something new began inside me. Power. Not the kind that destroys, the kind that knows. He didn't know what I knew. I knew exactly what he was planning, and that changed everything. That night, we lay side by side in bed, two strangers sharing a mattress. He turned his back, laughing softly at his phone, surely texting her. Saffron, the woman he planned to bring into my home permanently. I stared at the ceiling. Tick, tick. With every second, a decision solidified. I wouldn't leave like a crazy woman. I wouldn't leave because he said so. If I ever left, it would be on my terms. And that was the night I made the most important decision yet. I was going to get help. Legal help. Strategic help. Not to destroy him. To stop him from destroying me. I slept with a shattered heart, but with a clear idea. From now on, I play too, and I play better, as I don't need to lie. The day after finding those documents was the longest day of my life. Not because of how many hours passed, but because of the weight of every single minute. It felt like walking through a minefield. One wrong step, and everything could explode in my face before I had a chance to act. I woke before the alarm, sitting on the edge of the bed, hands clasped together, palms cold and sweaty. Cedric slept beside me, breathing deep, heavy, peaceful, as if life were perfect. I looked at the back of his neck and felt a type of fear I had never felt before toward the man I married. Not fear of being hit, not physical fear. Fear of what he was capable of doing to my life without ever laying a hand on me. That kind of man doesn't have to hurt you physically to bury you. That fear is the most dangerous kind because it doesn't scream, it whispers. The same routine, but nothing felt the same. I went downstairs to make breakfast. Same pans, same motions, same smell of coffee filling the kitchen. But none of it felt like mine anymore. Every detail in the house felt different, strained, tense, temporary. His chair at the table, the door that creaked, the curtains I sewed, the hallway where Eli ran with his toys. Everything felt like it already belonged to someone else. Because, on paper and behind my back, he had already given it away. Cedric came down late, took his coffee without a thank you, without a glance, as usual. But this time, I didn't just feel sadness. I studied him. Every movement, every pause, every lie already forming behind his eyes. He looked light, too light, and that hurt more than anything. Because while I was suffocating under truth, he was floating on top of it. "I'm heading out early today," he said. The team wants to check out her new place." He almost said her name. In the past, I would have swallowed that, pretended I didn't hear, tried to hold the marriage together anyway. Now, I took mental note. Every slip was ammunition. "All right," I answered calmly. He looked at me strangely, as if confused by my lack of reaction, and that gave me my first real sense of power since this hell began. The house began revealing everything I had ignored. When he left, I walked through the house slowly, and for the first time, I let myself see what was there. A pillow out of place, the drawer slightly open, my perfume moved on the bathroom shelf. The house wasn't confused, it was testifying. I sat on the living room floor, legs pulled in, back cold against the tile. One thought repeated: I have to protect myself. I have to protect Eli. I have to make a move before he seals my fate. And then, almost like a whisper inside my own head, what if the house isn't his to take? I pushed the thought away. Not yet. Not now. But it stayed. Quiet, heavy, waiting. The moment someone finally validated my reality. I called Denise, a lawyer recommended by someone I barely knew. I didn't explain on the phone. I just asked to come in. Her office was small, warm, almost comforting, smelling of coffee and paper. I sat and for the first time told everything. The bracelet, the neighbor, the bank statement, Eli's recording, the document in his briefcase. She didn't gasp, didn't judge, didn't question my sanity. She just listened, then said, "Maya, everything you're describing has a name. Pre-arranged legal discard. It's cruel, it's cold, and it's more common than you think. But you're not walking into this war alone. He only thought he was." My eyes filled with tears. But they weren't from pain. They were because someone finally believed me. She continued, "The house, whose name is it under?" "Mine and his, 50-50. She nodded. "Then he can't kick you out. He can't claim abandonments if you don't leave. And he cannot legally bring another woman to live there without your consent. Everything he planned depends on you losing control, running out, or breaking down." She leaned forward, voice steady. "Maya, you are not going to do that. Do you hear me?" I nodded. She placed her hand over mine, firm, almost grounding. "You have more power than you think. He knows it. That's why he's trying to break you before making a move. But now you know the plan, which means the advantage is yours." Advantage? A word I never imagined hearing in my favor. Then she said, "If you take the house out of his hands, you cripple his entire plan." Her words hit me like a spark inside dry soil. And there it was, the seed, the idea, the path. I walked into the house that night as a different woman. When I got home, Cedric was already there, laughing softly into his phone, but stopping when he noticed me. "Oh, you're back." I smiled. A small, polite smile, but a dangerous one, because now it hid strategy. He followed me to the kitchen. "You're acting weird lately." "Am I?" I said, calmly. "Yeah, you're distant. Sometimes people just get tired." He looked relieved, like he thought I was giving up. Let him think that. It helped me. The fear at night and the strength born from it. That night, after Eli fell asleep, I lay in the dark. Cedric snored softly beside me. I didn't sleep. I listened to my own heartbeat loud in the pillow. My hands tingled. My chest felt tight. I was terrified. Terrified of what he could do. Terrified of what I would have to do. Terrified of stepping into a new life with nothing certain. But underneath the fear was something else. Courage. Not pretty courage, not movie courage. The kind born from survival. And there, in the quiet of a bedroom that hadn't felt like home in years, I made the second most important decision of my life. I was going to sell the house before he weaponized it, before he installed her in it, before he erased me. Selling the house wasn't revenge. It was survival. And also, the only way to strike where he would never expect. In his wallet, in his plan, in the story he wanted to tell. I looked at him as he slept, mouth slightly open, peaceful, confident, and I thought, you won't force me out of my home. You won't rewrite my story. You won't put another woman in the place I built. You won't take my child from me. And you have no idea. But the game just turned. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and started imagining how everything would unfold. It was official. The plan was born. When you make a life-altering decision, the world around you doesn't change right away. The sky looks the same, the neighbor's dog still barks, the kitchen light still flickers like always. But inside you, everything shifts. The morning the house sale would be finalized, I woke up with a different kind of heaviness. Not panic, not dread, honesty. As if, for the first time in years, my decisions and my life were finally aligned. I slipped out of bed quietly so I wouldn't wake the monster beside me. Cedric lay sprawled across the mattress, snoring, limbs everywhere, completely unbothered by anything that had been happening right under his nose. I searched for feelings. Love? No. Hate? Not even that. Just estrangement. Like he was a stranger occupying a place that once meant something sacred. I splashed water on my face. My skin was hot, my hands cold, my stomach hollow, my chest full. I went downstairs barefoot. Cold floor, warm coffee, deep breath. It was the first morning in a very long time where reality didn't feel like a trap, just inevitable. The domestic courtroom assembling in my living room. Cedric eventually came down, dressed a little too nicely for just another day. He grabbed his coffee without looking at me. "Going out today?" he asked. "Maybe." He smirked. "You've been full of maybes lately." I didn't respond. Moments later, the doorbell rang. Ding dong. Cedric frowned. "Who's here this early?" I thought, "Your future, coming right on time." But I only said, "Go check." He opened the door, and there she was, Geraldine, of course. She walked in without asking, scanning the house like she was doing a property inspection. "Good morning," she said in a tone that didn't have a single good thing in it. "My, I didn't know you were stopping by," Cedric muttered. "You said today everything would be taken care of." She looked at me the way someone looks at a stain on a wall they'd like to paint over. Today, everything would be taken care of. So yes, they had planned something. A conversation about my life without me. I sat quietly at the table, sipping my coffee. Minutes later, heels on pavement, perfume entering before the body. Saffron. She walked in smiling, hair perfectly styled, outfit carefully chosen to look like new mistress becoming new homeowner. Cedric opened the door for her like she was a queen. "Hi, love," she whispered, kissing his cheek. "Ready to settle our life?" Our life? In my house? In front of me? She smiled at me politely, one of those smiles soaked in pity and victory. "Good morning, Maya." I lifted my cup in a small nod. No more, no less. The three of them positioned themselves like a panel. Cedric standing confidently, Saffron perched on the sofa, legs crossed, Geraldine in the corner, arms folded like some divine judge. A private trial. I was the defendant. Except none of them realized that this time, the judge was me. The pretty version of his scheme. Cedric cleared his throat, slipped his hands in his pockets, his go-to gesture when preparing to deliver something rehearsed. "Maya, we need to talk." For the millionth time. But I waited. The situation is unhealthy. This tension, this heaviness, it's not good for anyone. Not for you, not for me, not for Eli. So, he paused dramatically. Looked at his mother, looked at his lover. He needed emotional backup. "We think it's best if you spend a little time away, at your sister's maybe, just until things cool down. A little time away. From the house I built? Saffron chimed in, voice soft like poison. I can help around here during that transition, Maya. Keep things organized. Make the environment lighter for Eli. Later, we'll all decide what's best for you. For you? She spoke like I was a tenant. Geraldine sealed it. It's for your own good, dear. You've been so unbalanced. A wise woman knows when to step back. Wise woman. Step back. They wanted to cloak my removal in the language of peace. I held my cup tighter. Let the warmth ground me as my insides froze. Cedric added proudly, "So, you pack your things, we'll help. There doesn't need to be a fight. We want a calm transition." Calm transition? Exactly like the document said. I breathed in. Slow, steady. Then I asked, "So, you've all decided this already?" "Yes," Cedric said. "It's what's best for everyone." Their faces glowed with premature victory. Perfect moment. I set my cup down gently, stood slowly. "Interesting," I said, "because I also have something to tell you three about this house." Saffron shifted. Geraldine tensed. Cedric blinked. "What?" he asked. I walked to the sideboard, picked up the brown folder Denise had given me, placed it on the coffee table. "You've spent months planning my exit. The emotional wear, the manipulation, the gaslighting. You even planned the legal narrative, the instability, the abandonment of home." Cedric paled. "But while you were planning," I continued, voice calm as ice, "so was I." I opened the folder, turned the first page toward them. Contract of sale, residential property. Cedric's face drained of color. What is this?" he stammered. "It's simple," I said. I sold the house. Silence. A silence so thick it felt like the walls inhaled. Saffron jumped up. "You're lying!" Geraldine covered her mouth. Cedric swayed. "You can't sell anything without me," he choked out. "Oh, but I can," I replied. "The house is in both our names. I can sign my half, and the buyer is willing to take the full purchase through legal channels. Everything is valid. Everything is done." I pointed at the contract. "Value set, papers filed, lawyer, notary. It's not a threat. It's a done deal." Cedric grabbed the paper with shaking hands, read, swallowed. Saffron turned to him in panic. "Tell me she's bluffing, Cedric. Tell me this is fake." But he knew how to read, and he knew it was real. I stepped closer. "You wanted me out of my own home. You wanted to make me look unstable. You wanted to bring your mistress in and rebuild a life on top of everything I built." I paused, looked at each of them. But I decided something else. If someone is leaving this house humiliated, it's not me. It's you. Saffron pointed a trembling finger at me. "You're destroying everything. This is insane. What kind of mother does this?" That hit deep, but I held steady. The kind of mother who refuses to raise her child in a house where respect is dead. The kind who prefers a smaller home, even with creaky floors, where her son never sees his father walk in with a mistress and his grandmother applauding. Geraldine stepped forward. "You are ungrateful. My son gave you everything." I stared at her. "Your son gave me betrayal, humiliation, secrecy, and a plan to legally erase me. Everything else, I built. And even so, I'm the ungrateful one?" She had no answer. Cedric exploded. "You're evil! You ruined our home!" I gave a sad smile. "No, Cedric. You ruined us. I just dismantled the stage." Saffron clung to his arm, terrified. "Do something!" He shook his head. I need to talk to my lawyer." "Do that," I said. "He'll confirm everything. You had a plan. I had one too. The difference is, mine wasn't built on lies." Then, ding dong, the doorbell. Perfect timing. I opened the door. The buyer stood there, clipboard in hand. "Mrs. Maya, I'm here to finalize the last signatures and confirm key delivery. I smiled. Come in. Cedric looked like the floor disappeared under him. I walked the buyer through the house, every room, and for every room I stepped into, I felt, here I cried, here I swallowed pain, here I vanished, here I'm finally saying goodbye. When we returned to the living room, he handed me the final page. Just your signature here. I signed. The pen scratched lightly across the paper, closing a whole era. All done, he said. 30 days for full transfer. I turned to Cedric. You heard him. 30 days for you to organize your things. Saffron clenched her jaw. Geraldine went pale. Cedric stared at the floor. A silence of collapse. Finally, Cedric whispered, You destroyed everything. I looked at him. With the last remnants of who I used to be. No, Cedric. You destroyed our marriage. I just refused to let you destroy me. For the first time, I felt whole. When the buyer left and the door clicked shut, a heavy silence fell over the house. Not peaceful silence, impact silence, the kind that comes right after an earthquake. I stood with my hand still near the doorknob, breathing slowly. Behind me, Cedric, Saffron, and Geraldine looked like 3 cracked statues. No one moved. No one spoke. They didn't know what to do with the truth. Saffron was the first to break. Her voice was jagged, breath short. This is insane! Cedric, say something! But he didn't, because he finally understood. His plan wasn't just exposed, it was dead. He stared at the empty space in the living room like he was watching the ruins of a future he'd already decorated in his head. Geraldine's hands trembled. Her voice came out shrill and desperate. Maya, this is cruel, cruel. Doing this to your own family? To your own child? To my son? To me? I turned to her slowly. Geraldine, with all due respect, you all spent months strategizing my removal. I just refused to be removed. A house doesn't define a family. Character does. And in this room, half of you are missing it. She tried to answer, but nothing came out. The mask cracked. For the first time ever, I saw her at a loss. Saffron collapsed into panic. She dropped into the sofa, hands on her head. But where are we supposed to go now? We had plans, Cedric. You told me. You promised. And that's when Cedric, finally, exploded. And you believed it? He shouted. You thought she'd never find out? Thought I'd just throw a mother out of the house? Thought everything would be that simple? She shot back, furious. You promised. And in that moment, I understood something so important, it almost hurt. They were only strong together in the shadows. In the light, they fell apart. Cedric's last attempt to manipulate. He turned to me, desperate now, grasping at whatever was left. Maya, think about Eli. Think about our son. How do you think he'll feel without a home, without stability, without... I interrupted quietly. Don't dare use Eli now. He has felt the instability long before today. He watched you walk in late, smelling like someone else. He heard the fights. He saw your silence. He lived in the tension you created. He went silent. Saffron stared at him, betrayal all over her face. Geraldine looked wounded, like watching an empire crumble. But I wasn't done. The house wasn't a home anymore. Not because I left, because you destroyed the peace inside it. You've ruined everything, he whispered. I looked at him, not with anger, but clarity. No, Cedric, you ruined us a long time ago. I just removed the facade. He flinched. Saffron covered her mouth like she might cry. Geraldine muttered something under her breath, shaking her head. And then they left. Not together, not triumphant, not confident. 3 people walking out of a house like they were leaving the scene of a crime. Later that day, I sat with Eli. He came running with his little blue car, climbed next to me. I wrapped an arm around him. "Baby, we're going to live somewhere else." He blinked, curious, not afraid. "Just us?" "For now, yes. But it'll be a quiet place, a peaceful place, just ours." He thought, then nodded. "I like when it's quiet." That sentence nearly broke me. He didn't need a mansion. He needed peace. And peace was something that house could never give again. Cedric returned the next day, alone. He walked slowly through the house, not touching anything, like he was afraid of the ghosts he created. When he passed me in the hallway, he stopped. "I never thought you had this in you," he said, almost respectfully. I met his eyes. Neither did I. But sometimes we only discover who we are when someone stops loving us. Pain teaches, and I learned. He swallowed hard. "Can I still see Eli some nights?" "Of course," I said. I'd never take a parent away from a child, but from my life, I had to. He blinked, and for the first time since everything started, I think he actually felt loss. Not of the house, but of the version of me he assumed he owned. Geraldine appeared 2 days later. Angry knock, tense breath. I opened the door. She barged in. "You destroyed my son's life!" I didn't raise my voice. I destroyed his plan. His life was something he broke all by himself. She clutched her purse, desperate. "You'll regret losing this house. One day, you'll see this was your worst mistake." I gave her the calmest smile. "Geraldine, I didn't lose anything. I freed myself. And tomorrow? Tomorrow is the beginning of my real life." She had no comeback. She walked out, for the first time ever, without insulting me. The last night in that house, I sat on the floor of the empty living room, lights off, street lights spilling through the window. I touched the wall, the floor, the curtains I had sewn with my own hands, and whispered, "It's over. You survived. Now you get to live." The house was cold, but I was finally warm. For the first time in years, I felt safe, and I knew what came next wouldn't be easy, but it would be mine, clean, honest, free. Rebuilding hurts, but rebuilding with dignity heals. I wish I could tell you that after leaving that house, everything fell into place, that I felt lighter right away, that I slept peacefully, that starting over was effortless. But that would be a lie. Rebuilding isn't pretty. Rebuilding hurts. It hurts because you're not only leaving a house behind, you're leaving behind the version of yourself who believed in that life. The first days were disorienting. I woke up confused, woke up forgetting which light switch was where, woke up reaching for things that weren't in the same place. The new house was small and simple. It smelled like fresh paint and a little dampness. Nothing luxurious, nothing coordinated. Cars passed loudly outside. The neighbor worked on his car at 6 a.m. The door creaked. The window whistled when the wind picked up. But all of it was real life. Life that scratches. Life that leaks. Life that creaks. But life that doesn't humiliate. I set a mattress on the floor, arranged clothes in boxes, placed Eli's toys in a corner. And that first night, lying on a mattress too firm, wrapped in silence that wasn't hostile, for the first time in years, I was safe. Not ecstatic, not healed, but safe. And safety, I had forgotten how that felt. The child who saw everything before anyone else. On day 3, while I was assembling a crooked shelf, Eli appeared with his blue toy car. He watched me for a moment and asked, "Mom, are we going to live here forever?" I felt a sting, but I answered with honesty. "We'll stay here until we find a place that's perfect for us. But wherever we're together, that's home." He took a moment, looked around. "I like it here," he said. "It doesn't feel like anyone is mad." That sentence tore me open and stitched me back together. He was right. In this little, imperfect place, there was no poison in the air, no silent tension, no footsteps I feared, no perfume that wasn't mine, no grandmother barging in to judge. The air here was clean, even with dust. It hit me. The old house didn't smell like home. It smelled like punishment. I wasn't weak. I was exhausted. A woman who carries a marriage alone for years doesn't realize she's dying in tiny pieces. I thought I was weak, thought I was too emotional, thought I was the problem. But away from Cedric, the truth became obvious. I wasn't weak. I was drained, exhausted, collapsed from being the emotional backbone of a relationship that only I was carrying. And when I let go of that weight, my body reacted. I slept better. I breathed better. My shoulders relaxed. My face changed in the mirror. Slowly, I started recognizing myself again. Freedom isn't always happiness. Sometimes it's just silence. Cedric tried keeping up appearances for a few days. Texted about Eli, sent half-hearted friendly messages, even tried inviting me out to talk. But the moment he realized I wasn't bending, the facade cracked. He and Saffron fought and fought hard, because now there was no house for them to claim, no new life ready-made, no comfort zone. They weren't partners. They were conveniences. And Geraldine, she vanished, because once she couldn't control the story, she had no story to tell. And the most liberating part? I didn't need to watch any of it. Their chaos was no longer my responsibility. My downfall already happened, and my rise had already begun. My first home, truly mine. I bought a small table, 2 chairs, a cheap rug for Eli's room, a light curtain for the living room where the sun came in at 8 a.m. None of it matched, none of it was fancy. But every object was chosen for one reason. It was mine. Not to please a husband, not to avoid conflict, not to keep up appearances. I put the house together slowly, music low, windows open. And the silence? The silence was light. I wasn't afraid to check the door, wasn't afraid of footsteps, wasn't afraid of my phone vibrating. I slept without flinching. That's freedom. The first dinner and the rebirth inside me. A few days later, I cooked a simple dinner, rice, chicken, salad. But it was the first meal in years where my stomach didn't clench, where I wasn't waiting for criticism, where I didn't eat in tension. Eli talked about school, a drawing he made, a new friend. And while he spoke, I realized my shoulders were relaxed. I wasn't bracing for anything. I was just living. And that was beautiful. Now I speak directly to you. You, the one reading this. Yes, you. Take a slow breath. Let your shoulders drop, because this part is meant for you. I know how you feel. I know there's a part of this story that stung you, a part that felt too familiar, a part you recognized with painful clarity. I know you're carrying something alone, a wound you don't show, a shame you never say out loud. I know, because I lived it, and because every woman who loves until it hurts carries the same invisible scar. So let me tell you something with every ounce of truth I have. You don't deserve a home where your name is spoken with irritation. You don't deserve to be someone's convenience. You don't deserve half love, half attention, half respect. You don't deserve to live as a ghost in your own story. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve tenderness. You deserve peace. You deserve a life, not survival. And if one day you choose to leave, whether it's the house, the pain, the relationship, or the humiliation, remember this. You don't leave because you lost. You leave because you chose yourself. It hurts. It's terrifying. It breaks you open. But courage is born exactly where the hurt is deepest. When you detach your life from the hands of someone who never held you properly, you learn something essential. You don't need to be loved to have worth, but you need to love yourself to survive. If this story reached you, if any part felt like it was talking directly to you, if you felt seen, leave a comment. Tell me which part resonated. Your voice matters. Your hurt matters. And your rebirth matters even more. I'm here with you, and you are not alone. You never were.